Hey guys, and welcome back to another Missing Monday. I'm so excited to sit down and film this. It's been such a while since I've actually sat down in front of a camera and filmed a video. I'm just so excited to get back at it, honestly. If you don't know, if you're new here, my name's Amber. I upload true crime and I like to sprinkle in a little bit of beauty content. If that is the sort of thing that you like to watch, then I would love it if you could hit that subscribe button and come along and join our little family. But for now, let's get on into today's Missing Monday, and we're going to be covering another missing child case today. This is an American case. So today we're going to be covering the case of Dulce Maria Alavez. She was an American girl who vanished near a playground in Bridgeton, New Jersey in September of 2019. Dulce was born on April 25th of 2014 in New Jersey, and she was only 5 years old when she disappeared. Her mother, Noema Alves Perez, described her as a sweet girl. She was nice and loving. She liked to pretend that she was a princess, and she always liked to be around children, particularly smaller children, and she loved to give hugs and kisses. So she was known as a very loving child. On September 16th of 2019, Dulce was actually with her 3-year-old brother, and they were playing on the swings in a park. Her mother, who was pregnant at the time, was in a car 30 yards away, and she was actually playing a scratch-off lottery ticket while she was helping her younger 8-year-old sister with her homework. It was around 4 to 5 p.m. when Dulce suddenly just disappeared. She vanished. Her brother returned to the car by himself, and he was crying, frantic, really upset that he couldn't find his sister, and he was telling his mother that he was just completely unsure of where she'd went. So as any mother would, Noema decided that she needed to phone the police. She phoned the police and she said to the 911 dispatcher, "Look, I'm really worried. I can't find my daughter." She said that we were there at the park and people say that someone probably took her. So within minutes, as police should, they ascended upon the park because, you know, this is a missing persons case. This child has disappeared, and particularly with child abductions, every single, well, missing person cases in general, it's essential to get on the scene straight away and get working because every minute matters. The longer a person is missing, the more unlikely it is to find them again. So the park was actually behind Bridgeton High School, and they tried to gather clues. The police were interviewing people. They interviewed the few immediate witnesses that they could find. There were crews of police along with bloodhounds, and they searched the adjoining neighbourhood, the wooded area and a nearby lake, but their suspect was long in the wind. So investigators will later go on to conduct thousands of interviews and process thousands of hours of video frame by frame in hopes of finding important clues as to what might have happened to Dulce. Over 100 police officers were part of the search, but they found absolutely nothing. FBI Special Agent Daniel Garabrandt, who had been in the law enforcement for more than 20 years, said that very few people had had their eyes trained on Dulce or her abductor before she vanished, but with the school getting out more than an hour earlier, it was highly likely that many people were walking around the park while the predator was waiting in the wings. He also said that they believe that there are witnesses that may have saw the abductor, who saw the vehicle that the abductor may have used in the area of the park, who either haven't come forward because they're too afraid or because they don't realise how important the information that they're holding is. Bridgeton Police Chief Michael Gamerian Sr., who had been working with the department since the late 80s, says that roughly 400 vehicles passed near and around the park in the time frame that Dulce disappeared. They were able to identify and reach out and speak to around 80% of those people whose vehicles they were. He also did go on to say that there still remains a certain amount of information that we are unable to identify. While there were no surveillance cameras over the playground area where Dulce was last seen, there are other videos to confirm that Dulce was in the park that day. He also said that the police were called roughly 45 minutes after Dulce had gone missing, which is very interesting. Obviously, because of the delay in phoning of the police, this meant that their search search was considerably larger because, like I said, with any missing person case, every single minute counts. This delay opened the window to joggers, people at the nearby high school, and those playing on the adjacent field. Federal investigators strongly believe that the suspect knew the lay of the land before taking the little girl. So before Dulce was taken, they believe that he was aware of his surroundings. The person that did this likely lived in Bridgeton, being familiar with Bridgeton, or had reason to be where they were in the park. A day after Dulce was kidnapped, authorities actually issued an Amber Alert with one key suspect characteristic: a man in a red van. This description quickly spawned a flurry of tips, and that meant that every possible red van in South Jersey would come into question. According to Amber Alert, which was derived from initial witness accounts, Dulce had been taken by a light-skinned, possibly Hispanic male who was around 5'6" to 5'8". He was a thin build, he had no facial hair but had acne on his face. He was seen wearing orange sneakers, possibly Nike, red pants and a black shirt. A month later, on October 15th of 2019, police actually released a composite sketch describing the man as Hispanic, roughly 5'7", a slender build, roughly 30 to 35 years old, and he was last seen wearing a white t-shirt, blue jeans and a white baseball style hat. In an interview with Action News a year after her daughter's disappearance, Noema actually admits that for some time her young children were completely out of her sight. She recalls that there was a hill partially blocking her view while the kids played. She said, "I went to look for them because me and my sister, we didn't see them anymore. So we got down from the car and we saw Manny crying," which was her younger son. It also turns out that 999 wasn't the first call that Noema made after her daughter vanished. She actually called her brother first, who lives nearby, within minutes of learning that Dulce had disappeared or may have been abducted. She said this was because that she knew he had a dog, and that she told him to come from the house to the park, walking with the dog to see if he could see her daughter on the way. And then she says that after this she did ring the police, and she did go on to say that she completely and utterly regrets letting her daughter go out of her sight, which I'm sure any mother would. You know, with these cases sometimes it is literally just a split second and they're gone, and you literally have to have eyes in the back of your head. Like it's not, I'm not a parent myself, but I'm sure it's not easy being a parent. She also went on to say that it does give her bad memories because she wishes that she could go back in time to the park and not leave her alone. She also admits that the community has supported her over the last year, but there have been a lot of critics. She also says that she's got absolutely nothing to hide and she will continue to speak until her daughter comes home. There are people who do believe that Noema planned this. It's not something that I personally believe she had anything to do with. Dulce's father actually lives in Mexico, and he was actually questioned also in regards to the incident to see whether he could have possibly had anything to do with it. But during the investigation, authorities actually said that they have not officially ruled him out, but there are reports that he was at college in Mexico the day that Dulce went missing. Authorities do believe that Dulce has been abducted, but they do think that there is a strong possibility that she is alive. The Bridgeton City Police Department chief Michael Gamari said that the COVID pandemic has impeded some of the work involved in the investigation, but he has maintained to the authorities that they are still following through on some solid leads. There was also a Dr. Phil and In Pursuit with John Welsh also carried out segments about the disappearance on their shows, and a $75,000 award is still being offered for information that leads to an arrest in this case. To this day, Dulce is still missing. This is such an awful sad case, and I genuinely cannot comprehend how her mother is feeling in this situation. Yes, she shouldn't have let her out of her sight, but honestly, like, can you imagine if she never gets her daughter back, can you imagine living with that for the rest of your life? Like, I physically couldn't. I do genuinely believe she's been abducted by someone. It just seems the most plausible thing, and I do also believe that it is a high possibility that she could be still alive. Now, if you have any information in regards to this case, I will leave links below with who you need to get in contact with. Please do not fail to contact. Any little bit of information, like the police said, it could be relevant, it might not be, but it could also help, so it's not going to harm with getting in touch. Let's try and get this little girl home. Anyway guys, that is all for this Missing Monday. I will see you in next week's video. Thanks so much for watching. Mwah.